aft?
No, we've got to see what happens to the sub.
Alright guys, welcome to a classic film review of Grey Lady Down, a submarine disaster movie starring Charlton Heston, Stacy Keach and David Carradine. Now this was directed by prolific TV director David Greene, and it's the story of a submarine crew trapped beneath the waves after a collision with another ship, and the perilous attempts to rescue the crew before the sub succumbs to deep sea pressures or ocean landslides. Now, as I mentioned, it's a disaster movie that arrived at the tail end of the genre's popularity, and here, of course, we have a military spin on things, and that, to be honest, works against it in a few ways, which I'll mention in a moment or two. But you can't fail to be entertained by a storyline pinched wholesale from the previous year's Airport 77, and seeing Charlton Heston striding around a wrecked sub, barking orders through clenched teeth, and some great bargain bin visual effects. Let's take a look. So Grey Lady Down kicks off when Charlton Heston is handing over the reins of the USS Navy submarine Neptune to its new skipper, played here by Ronnie Cox, and Heston decides to take her up for one final glorious surface. But before you can say up periscope, a Norwegian freighter suffering from failed guidance instruments rams into her, sinking the sub and its crew to nearly 1,500 feet and stranding them in an underwater canyon. Now, I did read a review of Grey Lady Down that said it lacked a key element to any successful disaster movie, which is melodrama. But wait till you see how Ronnie Cox's previously steadfast new captain reacts to his newfound predicament.
We didn't have to surface, Dave, but you just wanted to ride into port up there. Everybody look, Captain Friendly on the bridge for the last time.
Now, when I first started to watch this film, I did fear that between Charlton Heston's super serious beard and Stacy Keach's super serious moustache, that it would be a bit more of a monotonous couple of hours of problem solving and military jargon, and it's not without that. But what I enjoyed about this film is the introduction of David Carradine's character, Captain Gates. Now, he's the designer and pilot of a small experimental submersible called the Snark. Now, Gates is a seat-of-your-pants kind of dude who doesn't gel well with the by-the-book team around him.
Get this set up, and before you know it, you and me will be down at the bottom of the sea with that submarine.
You betcha.
Captain Gates? I think we'll operate more efficiently if we bear in mind who's in charge here.
And quickly regarding the cast, look out for Christopher Reeve as a naval officer. Reeve here in his first film role. His second film role would be a few months later as Superman. Crazy stuff. Anyway, I will concede that this film isn't in the same league as something like The Poseidon Adventure, with its high drama and characters losing their minds at the thought of a watery peril. But I want to come back to Ronnie Cox quickly as Commander David Samuelson. Certainly in the early minutes of the film is about to take command of this submarine, and he seems like a pretty dependable guy, but literally the moment the sub hits the floor of a deep sea cliff, he appears to lose his mind. It's very odd, but in a strange way I wanted to see more of this and more of him in the film.
It's the last time, all right. Now look, you can either take a couple of aspirin and quit the bullshit or get yourself into sick bay. I don't want any more.
Now, I'm personally a sucker for both a disaster film and a submarine film, so I can forgive this film for some of its shortcomings. It's certainly not as tense as a film about men trapped far beneath the ocean's surface as it could be, although I do appreciate the double threat on not only having a submarine straining under the pressure of tons of ocean, but also one that's resting precariously on the edge of a cliff, susceptible to deep sea landslides. In fact, what the film is missing is perhaps just one more landslide to push the sub and its crew to the absolute limits. Now, I know they're going for a bit of a different approach, but this is not in the realms of a Crimson Tide or an Enemy Below, and it's certainly no Das Boot. But it is more in the realms of something like Airport 77, where the mechanism of the rescue, the technological hurdles that must be cleared are, in fact, the stars of the show. Here, Charlton Heston probably thinks he's the star, but in fact, the star of Grey Lady Down is the little submersible, the Snark, as I think we spend as much time watching it get launched into the sea and then hoisted back on deck as we do exploring the mental state of the men trapped in the leaking sub. So Grey Lady Down's British director David Greene, whose TV directing career dates back to the early 50s, also made the underrated and underseen I Start Counting in 1970 with a young Jenny Agutter. And here he does a pretty solid job of staging some pretty punchy scenes of submarine mayhem. Now, any film shoot involving underwater photography or sets filled with rising and rushing water, I assume, will always be a challenge, although the initial impact between ship and submarine are so shoddy here that they wouldn't pass muster in a TV movie from the time, never mind a star-studded affair such as this one.
Hit the collision alarm. Collision imminent. Collision imminent.
Now, I'll be honest, I've not really mentioned Stacy Keach much here, but that's because, for me, he's largely void of personality. Relegated to just standing around looking concerned, he does serve to counterbalance David Carradine's devil-may-care approach to the rescue, to be honest, so in a way the plot needs him. Now, speaking of the plot, the film was based on David Lavelli's early 1970s novel Event 1000, which I've not read, but I understand it bears only a slight resemblance to the film Grey Lady Down. So at the time of the film's release in 1978, the disaster movie had begun to fade out of favour with audiences, and I think the producers of this movie were keen to play down those elements and wanted it to be seen more as a military rescue film, and that's fair. It's probably not a film that springs to mind when you're thinking about movies such as The Poseidon Adventure or The Towering Inferno or the Airport series. So Grey Lady Down is notable also, I think, for being one of the last real Charlton Heston movies. It is an ensemble piece for the most part, and he is top billed, but as the 70s came to a close, so did Heston's heyday, which you couldn't grumble at because he was Moses and Judah Ben-Hur.
This is the day, Judah. It's between us now. Yes, this is the day.
So Grey Lady Down can safely go on your submarine and disaster movie to watch list, despite not challenging for best in class in either category. It may be more for the military / technology nerds than viewers looking for wall-to-wall action and thrills. There's no buff action hero to save the day, just the US Navy and good old-fashioned science. Go check it out.
1,450 feet. They really built this baby. Thank God. God and General Dynamics.